Productions.
Kristen saw a cube on thermal. Could not see it with her eyes, but it was a cube about 25 feet tall and wide. If you are rolling like with a gang filled with the Holy Spirit, that those things don't want that smoke, because they're not there to, like, sure, they'll like torture and scare people. What they really want to do is seduce and make you think that they are truth. And out of my peripheral, I'm sitting in my chair over there, the thing goes and spreads open like that. And Heiser is sitting in the bed and he looks at it and perks up.
Make yourself some sort of an antenna of sorts to receive.
It's just CE5. It's CE5.
Exactly what it is. Yeah. We don't have any curtain. There's no curtains here.
Yeah.
If you throw something at me that I don't understand, I'm going to tell you that I'm, and I just don't understand it.
Are you trying to channel interdimensional entities while you do it?
The more you learn, the more you realize you didn't know to begin with, right? That's kind of what learning is all about, in my opinion.
We are being hypnotized by people like this. Newsreaders, politicians, teachers, lecturers. We are in a country and in a world that is being run by unbelievably sick people. The chasm between what we're told is going on and what is really going on is absolutely enormous.
Oh yeah, dude. There's some Nephilim.
It's like we all know what's going down, but no one's saying shit what happened to the home of the brave. These motherfuckers, they controlling us now, and no one's talking about how they made us fight and be slaves. And everybody's just walking around, heading the clouds and wanna wake up to a dead in the grave. But then it's too late, we need to be ready to raise up. Welcome to the end of days.
Everybody is slaves, only some are aware that the government releasing poison in the air.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Nephilim Death Squad. As always, oh wait, this isn't Timeline Cleanse. I am David Lee Corbo, a.k.a. The Raven. That is TOPLOBSTA, the father of disinformation.
We didn't even start the show, and it's ruined.
Already ruined. Can we start it over? Before we get into today's guest, a little reminder for all of the live viewers. Sometime around the 30-minute mark, we're going to be going live exclusively to patreon.com/Nephilim Death Squad. You can continue watching this live episode, engaging in the live chat, and also gaining access to our backlog of content. And you can do it all for free if you sign up for the 7-day free trial. And then hopefully you forget to cancel your membership, and we get to bill you and collect your money. Anyway, guys, getting into today's guest, we are joined by Wes. You want to bring him up? Geez, there we go. Wesley, for the audience who may not be familiar with you, let them know a little bit about what you do and what you're here to talk about today.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I am a filmmaker. I used to be a filmmaker. I used to make the show Cast Castle over at Timcast.
That's right.
And then I think everybody here knows about the diaspora, the Exodus when we were exiled into Babylon. And so now I linked up with Tony Merkel, and who was a friend of mine from before. He did a couple of episodes of Cast Castle with me, actually. And then with our director, his name's Ward. He has a company called Dark Holler. If you guys have, everybody in the chat, if you've never watched Dark Holler, the series on YouTube, awesome. So super excited to get to work with him. And we've got a film coming out this weekend.
Yes, and that's a lot of what we're here to talk about is this film that you guys have coming out this weekend. But, I mean, it's an interesting sort of segue career-wise, right? You go from doing hard political commentary or at least being around that.
Well, I was the producer on one of the producers on Inverted World. Like I was the producer when you guys did the show the first time.
Yeah, Shane Cashman has a great way of bridging that gap between what Tim does over at Timcast and then what I guess this kind of spooky realm. It's actually why we among many things are the reasons that we love Shane Cashman, but we had him be a part of Bohemian Grove because he's got that kind of spooky bent to him. And honestly, the conversations that we had with when you talk to Shane Cashman and you find out like what his childhood was like living on that military base and the men dressed up as bears.
Yeah, the military bears. Very strange.
Very strange. So, but I mean, I guess in that way, then it's not such a giant segue for you, but you're still surrounded by so much of that political commentary where I feel like certainly what Tony presents to the audience is void of that entirely. So now you're immersed in the spooky. How has that been, that transition for you, going solely to spooky stuff?
Well, honestly, like not that hard, because even before I worked for Tim, this was like I spent all of COVID just researching Atlantis. Like that's all, like just reading everything. Like I read Ignatius Donnelly and all these like heretic writers, Edgar Cayce. Like I was super into that. I read Madame Blavatsky, and Alice Bailey and all that. Like it just went super down. Like, dude, I remember one time when they first opened up Waffle House, I was sitting there and I like had red in my eyes telling my friend about the Lucis Trust. And I was like so far down the rabbit hole. But even before that, like I had in like 2012, I went down the Illuminati thing. You remember when like people are discovering like, oh, like I went down that rabbit hole too, and had to like pull myself out of it because I was seeing it everywhere. And successfully like retook the blue pill to an extent where I was like, okay, I need to be able to live in the world and not feel constantly afraid.
Yeah.
And so I guess I've always had that bent, which is weird because I have extreme normalcy bias. Like I'm super skeptical about everything, and lean towards like people are good, people are normal, not so much anymore. But yeah, but I wanted to get out of like, to be honest, even at Timcast, I was probably less politically active than I've ever been in my life when I worked there, because I was around it so much where I was like, I don't care. I do not care. Yeah. All I care about is Bigfoot and the Nephilim. That's all I care about.
I find it becomes hard to engage with those ideas when you have, I mean, not only because it's hard to take it serious, but this other field of study, which I'm comfortable calling it a field of previously, it would have been pseudoscience and ridiculed. But I think the strangeness of life has dragged us into a place where the conversation is much more serious regarding what was previously dubbed pseudoscience. But it's so much more fascinating. It's so much more interesting. And I don't know, for better or for worse, it's so much more entertaining than trying to engage in the political conversation.
Right. And beyond that, like it feels more consequential. You know what I mean? That feels more real, dude. Because a lot of people are like, yeah, that's kind of fantasy stuff, and it's like it's way more real than politics.
Yeah, it almost makes politics feel like if this is, more real than politics, it almost makes it feel like politics is theater. But I don't know, man. God. It's been an interesting thing to watch your development, your relationship with Tony, and I feel like it's a lot better of a place for you. You guys just wrapped up this documentary that we're here to talk about today that releases, when is it coming out and what's the name of it?
It's called The Meadow Project. It releases July 27th at 8 p.m. on moment.co. And I was not there to film this one. I will be filming them all going forward. We've already filmed another documentary. I don't think I'm breaking any news there. I think Tony's mentioned that several times. I'm bad at not spoiling things, so like I'm
do you want to
really careful.
Can we just play the trailer and check it out?
No. Yes.
Okay. I was like, oh, dude, we should talk about
thing we could do, because I'm guilty of like hearing about Tony's documentaries and then not watching them. I guess I do a lot of I watch all of his shows, but not the documentaries.
I actually have. I've watched the documentaries. You know why? Because even though it's kind of inside, this isn't an insulting thing at all, but it's like it's almost been there, done that, in the sense of like being in the woods and looking for these cryptids. But the old formula has been so beat to death. You know what I mean? When you watch and it's nothing against these guys, but like Bigfoot hunters, let's say, for example, it's the same thing every episode, and they haven't had a fresh take on it. I don't know if the series is still running, but you can guess at what you're going to get. You're going to get knocking on trees, you're going to get whooping, and you're going to be like, did somebody just throw a stone or something like that? And so it's not the content's fault. It's the way
Right.
that the content is packaged and then presented to the listener or the watcher, because this stuff is incredibly fascinating.
For
I
me,
mean,
it's
there's something
purely-
there. It's just for whatever reason, these shows have fallen into their old habits. So Tony comes along and he makes something about something that's been around for a while, but it's done through a fresh lens. And so I do enjoy what he's been doing lately.
For me, it's purely just like overload. Like there's so much good content, and I'm like, how much can I actually watch of Tony Merkel? Like literally, probably almost 5. I mean, what does he do? 2 hours each episode about, so like 4 hours a week. That's a lot. Like when you pump it. But let's check this out, and we'll see. Let's see what this is about, and we'll get into this.
Check it out.
Cool.
Here we go. Let's check it out.
This place is very special, extremely special. It ranks very high on the list of extreme high strangeness, extreme high strangeness, extreme high strangeness.
There was all kinds of different phenomena that his team had documented at the Meadow.
I mean, stuff was popping off at the freaking camp. We knew of all the stories that we had heard them tell over multiple podcasts for the last few years.
I'm not sure what I just saw. A Bob just turned into a ball of light.
Something grabbed my legs and was pulling me out of bed. The only way I could describe it was like Gollum.
Shadow people everywhere.
The anticipation part started ramping up.
We are big fans of putting ourselves in environments to see how it unfolds around us.
What was that?
Okay, I got that on camera.
Saw something, like real strange.
I was starting to let myself believe.
We were getting too close to the truth.
Let's freaking go.
All right.
Welcome to the Meadow.
So-
It's weird.
It's
Nice.
definitely a teaser. And before I go anywhere, I want to ask what inspired the cube on the thumbnail for the Meadow Project, because the cube obviously is something that comes up constantly in Saturn worship. You know, the Tesseract, right? This idea of a fourth dimensional object. I mean, there's a lot of real significance to the symbolism of the cube. Why choose that for the thumbnail?
Well, I can share this because Tony's talked about this several times. While the group, so Trey Hudson is the founder of ASOG, the Anomalous Studies and Observation Group.
Okay.
They are the team. They've been investigating this place since 2012 or 13, somewhere in there. And at one point, I think it was 2017, they were doing a nighttime investigation in the Meadow, and on thermal, Kristen saw a cube on thermal. Could not see it with her eyes, but it was a cube about 25 feet tall and wide. And so they had 3 other members there with thermals and put the thermals on, and they all saw this cube. And then there was another team that consisted of Trey and 2 others that were on this ridge behind it. So this meadow is sort of a valley. There's 2 ridges on either side, and they were up there and they saw it on their thermal as well.
The same one in the same location?
The same location, yeah. Now I'll say we've got 1 thermal in the film of this cube. The other thermals were passive, not active. So they were like visual aids, not recorders. They were using them to like see in the dark, because this was like 2 or 3 a.m. And so they called this unit to come down to check it out and go to the spot. And we've got that footage where they're walking up, they're talking them into the spot. And as they approach the cube, they're saying, hey, slow down. And at one point it dissipates and disappears. And then as they're starting to walk away, they're like, guys, it's coming back. And like, you can see it's very ethereal. Like it's almost like if you had a glass cube and filled it with smoke. Like that's sort of what it looks like. And like I said, I have extreme normalcy bias. So I look at this and say, there's an explanation for this, right? And so I'm looking at the footage that they have from the next day, because I'm like, this is brush or leaves or something. Well, this was February. And so the footage from the next day where they recreated the walking path, there's nothing. There's no brush. There's no like anything that would resemble this shape. And then I had to say, okay, well, while I don't know what I'm looking at one point it does disappear, right? So as they approach the cube, they walk into the area where it is, and their thermal.
So this cube, just for clarification purposes, Wes, this is ground level. This isn't something that's
Ground
above
level.
tree line or anything like that. This is ground
No.
level. Okay.
Yep, and it's sitting and like on the. According to the testimony from Kristen, when it was at its most illuminate, it's because it's heat, right? So it's when it's its hottest. The ground under it was glowing hot, like there was like something had just been sitting on it, like warm, kind of like if an animal's laying down and gets up, that's what the grass looked like. And so they walk into the spot where this thing's sitting.
I'm sorry, is this thing actually on the ground or is it floating?
Her description of it is that it was like inches above the ground.
Okay.
So like 6 inches above the ground, but it's 25 feet wide and 25 feet tall. So
it's crazy.
That's significant, or insignificant amount of space. And so they walk into this space and their thermal images just disappear.
Huh.
So as they're inside of the cube, or what they should be inside of, they no longer exist to the outside world.
On thermal imaging.
Okay, wait a minute. What is the Meadow? Let's start there. What is this place?
It is. So it is a place. They call it the Skinwalker Ranch of the South, and it is a location within a forest that has. The reason that they checked out in the first place is because there's a lot of Native American legends about it, and this being called the Chroniclesnds, and there was also some like Sasquatch legends that came from there. So the guy at the end who says "Welcome to the Meadow," he's a Sasquatch researcher, and he almost all of them are either paramedics or law enforcement or former special operations. Trey, the guy who founded it, is former DIA, I believe.
Can I just, I'd like to just offer some clarification for the audience. So I typed in Crowmocker and it auto-corrected to Ravenmocker, which I find to be insulting. And it says the Ravenmockers are figures in Cherokee mythology described as witches or evil spirits that prolong their lives by preying on the sick and dying.
And we're going to get to that.
So where exactly, you're not allowed to disclose the location of this, somewhere in the South.
Somewhere in the South.
Would you tell us?
Not even the state.
If we
I cannot tell you off camera.
You can't even say the state.
I can't even say the state.
Wow, very interesting. Okay. All right.
Yep, I have an NDA on that.
Okay, please continue. Please continue. I don't want to get you in trouble. I was just
yeah, no, I bet everybody's curious, but it's to preserve, because it is not the location is accessible. That's why. So it's hard to get to, but you could get to it. And
privately owned?
It is not.
Interesting.
Yes.
That is
interesting.
Yeah.
So now I don't want to keep prying, but now we're like leading to this assumption. Well, it's like, is this part of a state park? We're talking about the Daniel Boone National, but that's like more central.
Yeah.
But I don't
say anything, Wes.
Too much. Yeah.
Just cover your face.
It's just in the South. Yeah. It's somewhere in the South. Yeah, and there's a lot of southern states. There's Texas and Florida. And,
Another question
in the South, dude.
Yeah, but that's South. But if we're talking about the 33rd parallel, now I got some more questions, because that would run across like just north of Florida. You're talking Georgia, and then that kind of
give away too much.
I'm just saying,
speculating. You're real good at speculating.
33rd parallel stuff. Is it close, or is this
that I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
Because I don't know the exact location.
Right.
All I know is the state.
Gotcha.
Is it never mind. I was going to say, is it a conceal and carry state?
Does
Only
it
because
look like
if you
a
went there,
man?
you surely want to be packed. But don't answer that. Don't answer that.
However, so to end the cube story, and that was the first time they have seen the cube. I believe they've seen it 2 more times. So I think 3
Really?
appearances of the cube. Yeah.
Same
And
spot?
No, not in the same spot. And they went into the cube, right? And then the cube disappears around them and they reappear in the spot where they're standing. Now, how they describe it, and this is in the film as well, is that when they went into the cube, it felt very easy to get into. However, when the cube disappeared, they were surrounded by brambles and they had to like stomp them down to get out. And so they were like, these were not here when we went in. And then additionally, 2 of the 3 people who entered the cube have now passed away.
Okay, wait. Okay, so the brambles that you're talking about, they were around the perimeter of the cube, and then they had
they were standing in them. So where they were standing in the brambles, and they were like, and briars, and they were like, these we did not. They said it was flat like grass when they walked in, and this
is at nightfall, right? So I mean,
this is at night,
obviously, or else they wouldn't be using thermal vision. So they didn't perceive any difficulty getting in the proximity and then crossing over into what would have been, I guess we could describe it as a veil of some sort. Yep. But when this cube does disappear and their images reappear on thermal imaging, suddenly then they're obstructed by bramble and bush.
Yes.
Huh.
So it's almost like inside of this cube is I mean, this seems like the perimeters of the cube seem like a portal, and inside of it are somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it disappears, you're back into normal reality. Very interesting. Now, when they saw the cube 3 different times, I think I just asked this, but they are in different the cube is in a different spot.
Yeah.
Same size, same cube.
I don't know about the size of the other times. I just know that they've mentioned seeing it other times, and I don't have like, I'm as familiar with this as I am the footage that I have, right? I was not on location. And to be clear on what this film is sort of an observation of the work that they've already done. So there's a book, Trey has a book called The Meadow Project, and this is less about what Tony and them and the gang went to do. They were there to get the stories from them in location and not feel sterile, right? So there were investigations taking place, but this film is more about adapting the stories from this book and putting the information out there.
You wouldn't happen to know, Wes, if there was like on this property near these sightings of this cube running water or anything like that, like creek maybe?
Yes,
Jesus,
there
dude,
is. We'll talk about that.
$113? Come on.
Dude, well,
come on, Trey. What are we doing here?
It might be out of print.
I'm thinking so.
Yeah.
So,
And
you heard that, Top?
Yeah.
Wes says that there, or at least seem to have hinted that there was a body of running water nearby.
Yes,
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we're figuring out what's charging this cube, some sort of body of, I assume, fresh water.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Please continue. We're narrowing it down as you go.
Yeah. And there is an element. I don't want to like give away all of the like things that happen. Obviously, obviously most of them are in the book, but there is an incident that does occur that involves the water itself. I mean, I guess I could say it caused like a mass confusion in one of the investigators. When he crossed the water, he forgot where he was. And he felt like he was in another place. So he crosses the stream and he's 100% sure. And we've got the footage of that as well, where he's like, I don't know where I am. And they come get him. And he's like super excited he thought he found a second part of the meadow. And they're like, Trey, you're literally where he literally crossed the stream and crosses back in the footage. And he didn't realize he did that. And then he took the rest of the day off, I guess, and was like, and he said when they told him that it was the same place, he said it felt like everything shifted back. And he was like, hold on. Like, he was like, I gotta take the day off. Like, this is
crazy because I'm pretty sure I know where this is.
Stop.
Not
narrow it down for the audience.
Not the
audience
place.
is very smart. Did you know that?
Don't worry about them. No, but I know I can figure out the state that they're in at the very least. And if they are close, this does run along somewhere near the 33rd parallel. Also shows up in a certain story that I've been kind of obsessed with.
Oh,
Mother
boy.
Horse Eyes. Very interesting stuff. Please continue, Wes. I'm picking away at this scab here. Go ahead, man. Where are we going next with this story? Because I'm.
Yeah, so they have this incident with the cube. But you said that two of them died.
Yes.
Afterwards, and
Yep.
and of what?
One, I believe, passed. One was, and we touch on that lightly in the film, and the film's dedicated to both of their memories, and so there's an investigator named Bob Wilson passed shortly after that, and then there's another investigator named Tim who also passed away. I'm not 100% sure what, but I know it was not expected. But it does seem like all of them, everybody that is there investigating, is having some sort of long-term chronic health issue, to varying degrees, and they now approach this place differently, where the team's much larger than the amount of people who are there in the film, but they cover it in teams over time. So like in segments of the team, right? So these people are out here for this long, and then they take time off, and then the next crew comes in, and they stagger the amount of time they spend there.
Okay. In order to minimize the amount of exposure, let's say.
I think it is that, and one of the things that Trey said was that they want to give the environment time to breathe as well, and not wear it out.
That's interesting. Well, I think the reason, I'm just going to come out and say it for the audience who's probably putting this piece together as well, is oftentimes in extreme supernatural circumstances, where there is a lack of tangible evidence or any sort of meaningful, material left behind, what is left behind is traces of radioactivity, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's part of it as well, and this is going to get interesting.
Okay, so obviously then the correlation that could be drawn, and outside of any real evidence, it's just speculation. But given that one of the investigators unfortunately passes from you can start to draw that line of speculation. Was there some sort of radioactive, reason for?
And then it asks the further question of like, well, what exactly is radioactivity? Because it's like extreme concentration of energy in a small area is what radioactivity seems like. And they've had accounts of this.
It's like you'd say it's chaotic ionization, right? Like it's destructive energy, right? Like it's the way that the particles in these atoms interact with the atoms around them. That's why it essentially like dangerous radioactivity, what it does is it tears your cells apart. It tears. Right. It's like a wood chipper in the air. It's very and like, to speak to that, we don't really focus too much on it in the film, so I don't feel like it's spoiling anything. One of the things that happens when these events happen, because they're doing all sorts of readings, they're measuring electromagnetic field, they have a time displacement monitor to see if time runs differently in between two locations, which does happen there, where like, why did the time meters, now they're 1 second off from each other? Like, that's strange. And that's a lot of time. Like, that's a lot of time.
These are designed to be synchronized and run in tandem so that you can keep time that way.
And they're connected by a cable. Like it's a long distance cable that are connecting these two things. So they should be running off the same thing that's running time, right? But
so
it's
you
like,
have
no,
time distortion.
Man. Time displacement meter, I believe is what it's called. And then they're also doing they've got I don't think they're Geiger counters, but they have something that reads the radiation levels. And this is what I found, like, when I was going through the footage, because when I first received the project, I was like, okay, I'm just going to watch all of this and try to get an idea of what happened, first of all. And when he said, when these things happen, the radiation level jumps from the baseline up to, and he said it's always up to 0.33 microsieverts. And I was like, well, that's interesting.
Whoa, Illuminati confirmed.
Yeah.
0.33 micros. And I wonder what, I'm sure that's not something that would really blow your hair back, but I wonder what that would be comparable to, being in the presence of what
does
it's above baseline, and that's enough.
Does Tony pick up on that? Because I was actually having a conversation with him, and came up. What was the episode number that he had with the guy that you love? You just absolutely love him. You just believe everything he says. Nathan Reynolds.
Nathan Reynolds.
I think it was episode 770.
Did
like that.
Did I taste a hint of sarcasm?
No.
I like it. I think Nathan Reynolds is legit, but Dave is just he's not sure. He's not so sure. But I brought up, I was like, episode 770, kind of interesting. This is like the number of completion.
770, and it was on the day 1 of the 7th month of it. It's just like not to be gay and numerological, but
Tony was just like, I don't care. And I was like, all right, so I guess you don't care about. But
what though? Based.
Yeah, he's like
Tony Merkel. He goes, I don't care about
that.
Wait, what?
You're right, dude.
No, so hold on. What didn't he care about?
The fact that it was the 770th episode released on the first day of the 7th month, right?
Oh,
so you
gotcha.
That, and it's just like some little numerology, coinky dink.
Yeah.
And Tony Merkel couldn't give less of it, and I appreciate that about him.
Did he care about the 33rd? And also, did you hear from any of the people that were there, like actual tangible, like did they feel anything tangibly? Because sometimes when you're in these places, you can, get a
yes. So they did say it felt strange, and it felt like static electricity, kind of like it was hard to put into words. And I asked these questions in like those interview segments with Tony, Joel, and Ward. Like I was there to shoot those, and so we talked a lot about it. And this isn't in the film, but we shot like a round table of having them discuss things. But I ultimately like made the decision. I was like, this isn't adding to it. And so we just cut that segment, but there was a lot of like, and we kind of made a decision to not speculate as to what it is or why it is. And part of it was because we just didn't feel that we had enough information. So like, and that could have been something we did. Yeah.
Well, that's what we do. We speculate endlessly with next to zero information.
Well, the thing about it is that there is no, you can't really like end this, right? Like there's no, if a fallen angel came out and was like, I am such and such, and this is my, like I would have been like, okay, cool, we got it. Will you sign this release, Metatron? Like, right. But that didn't happen, right? So like this is more about like what happened to this team, and like I would say one of the things I'm trying to bring to these is because they've got several films before I came on, and one of the things I want to bring on is like taking the story that the film's about, but then having some sort of like takeaway that has nothing to do with it, like specifically, like what about this can you apply to your own research? What about this can you take away about
dangers of radiation?
No, just like in this one, it was about what kind of person does this kind of work long-term take? Like you should not be going out into situations like this if you're not wrapped in the armor of the Lord. And if you're somebody who's like, so like the guy who does our visual effects, his name's Kent. He also worked for Tim, did Tim's music videos with us. His job before like 10 years ago or 15 years ago is he was one of the editors and filmers for Ghost Adventures and the Zach Baggins. And he has some experience in this type of space, but that space is obviously much different.
Yes, it is.
And but the point is that those shows like that were like getting people to go. That's why we have so many ghost hunting channels, right? It's because people out there and they're like, "Yo, ghost!"
Have you ever seen the way they do it in like Japan? In any of the Muslim countries, they will they like go in swearing and screaming, and they they're very aggressive. They like boot doors open and shout a bunch of insults at it. And I go, that's a very interesting method. I don't know that I would be immersed in what I was convinced was real supernatural spiritual phenomenon, and not eventually come to the conclusion that I should probably align myself with what is the more positive aspect of the supernatural phenomenon, which would be, aligning yourself with Jesus Christ. It seems that these people never draw that correlation, or I don't know if they don't draw that correlation, or they won't, because if you're Zach Baggins, and I'm only speculating here, but you have all this apparatus built up, and he's the guy that kind of dresses in like Ed Hardy jeans while he's ghost hunting, correct?
Yeah.
So something about Ed Hardy jeans and ghost hunting just doesn't seem like it vibes with the Lord. So I think it's bad for his brand, or he perceives it to be bad for his brand, and in that way does not, arm himself correctly. And it's a real dangerous place to be. That's an interesting takeaway. Where are you in your spiritual journey if you're in the woods on a regular basis searching for ethereal cubes? Are you aligned with the Lord, or are you not? It might be better if you are.
So that's the question that you're asking.
Yes. Well, I would say that's not even a question I'm asking. It's more of a warning.
Yeah.
It's a teachable moment of like, hey, and one of my personal observations is this stuff seems to happen to people who are empty more often. And so,
what do you
like,
mean? Do you mean the
open
interacting
vessels
with the phenomenon, or having a bad outcome?
Interaction, because my whole philosophy on it is because like I didn't go to this place, but I have been the idiot with a handy cam in the middle of the haunted place. Like actually the very first Ghost Adventures was filmed in my hometown at the movie, the one that came out in like 2003 or 4, was filmed at Central State Mental Asylum. And I used to go there all the time. It's gone now. They tore it down, but I used to go all the time. And like we would split up and stuff. And like I knew people that were like, this really crazy thing happened to me. And I was always like, it's crazy. Nothing ever happens to me. Nothing. And it's not that I have no paranormal like experiences. In fact, I just had one working on the film the other night. It was 2 in one night, actually. It was very strange. And this stuff does not happen to me. Like, I'm not somebody who's like, I'll get there. But my working theory is that if you are rolling like with a gang filled with the Holy Spirit, that those things don't want that smoke. Like,
there's nothing to do there. There's no vessel to occupy. And best case scenario, you get casted out in the name of the Lord.
Yeah. And like, it's very hard to deceive because those people are aware of the idea of testing the spirits and because they're not there to like, sure, they'll like torture and scare people. What they really want to do is seduce and make you think that they are truth.
Or if they can do it on a minor level and convince you that they are you.
Yes.
That's a good place to start as well. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And that's a big one. But I don't think they can get away with that. And in many cases they can. There's a lot of people who are, like in scripture, like, we cast out demons in your name, flee from me, I never knew you. And it's like, there is something to be said for that. But people who really are imbued with the Holy Spirit and have a relationship with Christ, like, I'm not saying nothing will ever happen to those people. I'm not saying that at all, but I think the chances of them being enticed to, there's just no there, like for them, it's like, if you're a salesman, you don't walk into a neighborhood where you've already sold everybody on whatever your product is.
Right. That's a great analogy.
Where they're, bound up in a contract with somebody else. Like, I used to be a door-to-door salesman for True Green, and I would not go into the neighborhood that Scott's Lawn Care had the contract with the whole neighborhood. I'd be like, there's no reason. Like, I can't do anything here.
Well, I want to ask you a question about the nature and how it changes if you're in alignment with the Holy Spirit versus if you are ghost hunting, is there still any value in going to these places, let's say, under the context of gaining ground in spiritual warfare? Because there's one aspect of going there for the entertainment value, and there's another aspect of going there, and even on the entertainment value, also informing people who are viewers and who are listeners. But what about this idea of engaging in spiritual warfare to win ground? Is that applicable in your experience or in your estimation? But before we go there, we're at the 40-minute mark. So everybody who's watching on X, on Rumble, and on YouTube, we're cutting the stream now, and we're going live exclusively to patreon.com/Nephilim Death Squad. So if you don't have a membership over there, consider signing up for the 7-day free trial. And that way you can at least get the rest of this conversation and hang out in the live chat. Otherwise, we will see you guys later. Goodbye. So Wes, there's a driving force to going out to these locations. You said yourself that you used to go to, what was it, like the asylum? And I was a big fan of that. When I was younger in New Jersey, we had Weird New Jersey. It was a magazine series, a book series that would tell you all the strange locations around New Jersey. And we would go and see these places. We'd go to, the Devil's Tree, and we'd go to all these different. There was one that I wanted to go to called the Gates of Hell, which was in Clifton, New Jersey, and you had to kind of navigate. I never went there because of this, but you had to navigate a sewer system, and depending upon when you went there, if it was the rainy season, you'd be in some trouble, right? The water would well up on you, and you probably allegedly even had to go through a bit of a submerged area to get to this spooky door and yada, yada, yada. But there is this allure there. And so at what point do you think that is unhealthy? But then is there a healthy version of it, like I mentioned before, going to these places to win ground in the name of the Lord via spiritual warfare? Does that apply at all to what's happening?
I think there is a reason. I think you are much more at risk of something you're not aware of. Like if you don't get a diagnosis with an illness, you're much more likely to pass from it. And I think that this is also can manifest itself as an illness, right? Like to go back to what I was saying about, like, I don't want people to think that I was saying that if you're wrapped in the armor of the Lord, when you go into these places, you're totally safe. I don't think that's true. I think from Tony's own testimony, that's not true. That these things, they may not give you what you're there to look for, but they may follow you and affect you in other ways. They'll put a cloud over your head. I think you guys are familiar with the story of when Tony went to witness to that gentleman that he worked with, and then he felt like he gave him whatever was with him for a year.
The huggy guy.
Yeah, the huggy guy.
The huggy guy. He just wanted a hug. I don't know.
He just wanted
3 hugs. I don't see any problem with 3 hugs.
He actually.
And so I think that's a risk.
He told me that story because I had called him to ask him about something similar to that, and it was interesting. It seemed like there was like a transfer with that hug, like a transfer of weird sexual energy, which is something he doesn't mention on his show because it's like more, it's family friendly. But the guy like kept pressing his that area on him, and I'm like, that's really interesting, super interesting. Like why you do it that way. Like,
well, yeah, not to get too into
your love portal.
Well, I mean, yeah, your love portal, but I mean, there is a reason why people like Crowley and his, followers are so into magic, ritualistic magic, right? There is an energy exchange, a unique one that comes from anything of the sexual variety. It's also why they target children in that way. That's unsurprising.
I mean, I maintain that to us, to them, it's something else, to the other realm. It is an alchemical process, and it's just a means of transference because it's transferring life energy.
Yes, but when it happens between 2 people that are in love, a husband and a wife, that love aspect is something totally, number one, incredibly powerful,
Mhm.
but two, it can be the purest form. I mean, I don't want to call it magic, but I mean, I guess in some ways it is. And
Yeah.
if it is this incredibly powerful energy that's pure, and then the byproduct of it, the fruits of it are, a child. Well, yeah, that's like the tip of the spear in regards to what we can perform here. So to invert that and then do things like try to bring in the moon child and things like that into this realm, that all tracks. So yeah, I mean, it's probably the most powerful form of magic that we're capable of executing as mortal beings here.
It's imagine, we're all made in the image of God, right? But then each of us is imbued with 50% of the ability to create another being made in the image of God. Like that's pretty crazy. It's crazy that we take it for granted. It's crazy
it's wild that we've lost that. When you put it that way, I mean, it's massive. But yeah, we
and that really like if you color it that way, which I think one should, it really makes like seem like
that's exactly where my head was going.
Is like you're really messed up.
Yeah. And then you look at what our society has done and the way that we've normalized it, encouraged it, called it a right, called it liberation. When it is, I mean, it's a liberation, but not from...
man.
Yep. Yeah.
There's an interesting conversation going around on Twitter right now between it's Andrew Tate and the other guy from Fresh and Fit, and they're talking about the idea of monogamy. Like, you got to have multiple partners. You have to have multiple wives. Women are just vessels to be filled with your... And I'm just like, this dude is such a... I enjoy... Yeah. I enjoy him. I think he's funny, but I'm like, this is so dangerous to... like just the male American, the young American male. It's like this ideology that you're talking about. Like, yeah, sure, you're right. Like your never-ending satiation for sexual desire is real.
Yeah.
But you're just going to like fill that with anyone that's willing. It's a crazy concept, and they're like, you're gay. You should have more with random women. I'm like, okay, dude. I don't think that's the...
It's the mirror image of the feminist movement, right? Free and all of that, no accountability and yada, yada, yada. Like, it's the exact thing. It's just feminism for men, which is, when you put it that, more people should be putting it that way. As men, do we really want meninism? Do we want feminism for men?
Meninism.
That's gross. You want to talk about gay. So okay, all right, but getting back to this this discussion, I did want to ask something, and then if we can figure out where the hell we were on the tracks, just for clarification purposes, when we earlier mentioned that two people passed away, one of them from the other one untimely, these were two individuals that were seen sort of blipping off the radar in the infrared.
Yep.
The same.
The thermal, yeah.
The thermal. Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to, because I wasn't sure if that was just investigators that were on site or if that was literally two of the individuals that would have disappeared off thermal temporarily and then reappeared.
Yep. Man. Yes, and they're the two that, unless I'm mistaken, because when you're looking at thermal, a human being is just a white spot. So, but they kind of went, like you've got three of them, and they kind of went like that. So one went deeper in, or one went more like not as far in as the other two, and they there's a daytime recreation where they show where they walked and where they stood so that you can see that they're still there. And it I think that kind of lends to it. So like the two that went deeper in are the two that
What do you think, Wes? I mean, are you yourself interested in going to these places?
Not really.
Not really. Okay.
Not really. No. I went to. We've got another film coming, like that. I haven't even started.
I'm gonna do it again, but
yeah. Well, I went in the one that we shot a film in June, and we went to this location, and I don't know what Tony has said about it, so I'm not going to say what the film is or where it took place, but it is a story you guys have all heard of for sure. It's a legend that we went to look into, a famous one. And what I'll say about it is I expected it to be a lot worse than it was. Like just the environment. And while there were definitely elements of like creep factor, I expected to be like, there were definitely things that happened that I was like, I don't like this because we slept in tents for 6 days straight. And
I don't like that.
I did
sleeping in a tent for 6. I'll camp for 2 days. We'll have a 2-day. I'll I'll show up on day 1, sleep in a tent on day that night, and then I'll leave the next day.
Well, I did like I enjoyed the camping and camaraderie and brotherhood aspect of it, but it was June, so like at night it was very cold, and so I slept in my clothes and my coat. But then I would wake up and it would be 80 degrees, and I would be like, "Get me out of here!" And my tent was like dark brown, so it's like pulling in all the heat. It's like, this is awful. And also, I'm the biggest person there, and
are you a giant too?
I'm 6'4.5" ish.
What is going on? Why do we just?
You have a face of a baby.
I know, right?
Yeah, baby.
Well, I'm a string bean though. Like I look like a normal person that somebody grabbed the middle of and stretched.
It just seems like all we do is talk to tall people, and we're constantly.
But I had the smallest tent. Like I was sleeping. It was one of those square tents, and I was sleeping corner to corner.
Yeah.
But no, like I expected the area we were in to feel a lot more oppressive than it did. And I think part of it was because the people we talked to a lot of people that investigate there all the time. And they were like, I would literally not do not sleep here. Like, they're like, don't do this. All of them warned us. And even before we went, we we're like, yeah, everybody we've talked to is saying like, do not do this. There have been a lot of people who tried to stay there, and then nobody stayed on the property overnight that we went to ever. And we were like, well, here we go, and yeah, like I think it was what I was saying before is like that little campground was like a Patronus charm, and it was like, we aren't going over there. And like, that's not to say that nothing weird happened, but all the things that were happening around us were happening way over there. Like way over there. And it was like, it was trying to get, I'll say that. It was like, it was trying to get one person to go out there alone.
Interesting. That's actually a technique that you see in these movies. You know what I mean? It's like somebody goes out into the woods, they're camping, and then this thing will drag them away or lure them out individually.
It's very Wendigo stuff, right?
Yes. So the reason that I was asking is because we had an offer to go out to some place, and I don't know. I mean, it's the 22nd today. I mean, I guess in the realm of possibilities, it could still happen, but it's out in Utah, and it's one of the many properties that are sort of Skinwalker Ranch adjacent.
Is it Space Wolf?
No, it's not Space Wolf. It's Moon Lake.
Okay, gotcha.
And so, but I did have when you look into it, it's done by, I forget what the name of the person is, but there's like a treasure aspect, like treasure hunting is part of this whole thing, and then of course,
is it Terry Jones?
Terry Jones, yeah. So there's all this obvious high strangeness as well, and I did have this I had a dream. I don't know. I had this weird dream where I found myself in a place that I was invited to, and there was other people were also invited to this place. I don't know. And it was kind of like a mansion, not really a mansion. It was just, anywho, when I was there, I suddenly had discovered that I stepped into the wrong place.
You telling a dream story right now?
I'm telling a dream story.
Go ahead. Sorry, I've blanked out.
Button? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
So I had realized that I was in the wrong place, and in the dream I managed to pull up some details that I had overlooked on my phone, and the details had something to do with like Greys and their involvement. And so I immediately, first thing, I realized I had my gun on me, and I was really pumped about that. And then the second thing, in the dream, I started praying the blood of Jesus over me and the people that I had come with. And it felt like almost this, not a hostage situation, but like it was late. We were supposed to be winding down for bed. And all of a sudden now the next thing was, we got to get the hell out of here. And so I'm like, some dreams are just dreams, right? Sometimes you just have dreams about silly stuff. And maybe this thing was on my mind, but I'm kind of going back and forth between that. Like, is there a benefit to me going out to Moon Lake and having some potential experience there? Everybody knows about the hitchhiker effect or anything. And I'm no stranger to odd occurrences and entities and things like that. But I don't know. I mean, what would, at this point, given where you are in your career, I mean, you're making documentaries about these things. Is this something that you would move towards? I'm sure you guys get a lot of offers. I'm sure Tony gets a lot of offers to come out and see this bizarre location. It doesn't seem like he's shying away from it. I don't know. Do you guys weigh that anymore? Or is this just, we are in alignment with the Holy Spirit and therefore we can go and do these things?
That's a great question, because this past one, the one I was just talking about, if the way it was pitched to me to go out there, first of all, it was not supposed to go out there. And then they ended up needing me. And then, and also Aaron, you guys know Aaron, my business partner.
Oh yeah.
He also went, and this is not his realm. Like he's an interesting cat. You guys should talk to him. He's a Russian Orthodox, very unique person. And he was like, this is not my world. He was like, I like working on these projects, but he's not into the woo and stuff. He's just, he's a very normal guy. And when I told him what the pitch was, we're going to go to a place and confront a demon. And I was like, no thanks. Not interested. Not interested. And I toiled with it for weeks. Because originally when I was supposed to go, we were going to go a month earlier. And so I had 1 week to think about it. And I had already agreed to do it, but I was really struggling with it. Then it got moved back a month, and I started to think, oh, maybe I won't have to go after all. And that would be awesome. Even though it's one of those things where it's like, if you excise the demon part, I'm in. I'm 100% in. Right. I'm in on camping. I'm in on hanging out with my friends. I'm in with making a film. I'm 100%
cool
in.
Footage, right?
Yep.
Yeah, telling a story. Yeah, it's all fun stuff.
And then it was like, yeah, we're gonna go specifically do this. I was like,
to cast out the demon?
Not confront. I will say
confront it.
Yes,
confront it. All right.
Yes.
Huh.
Because I can't get.
I mean, so it's just in its house, and you're gonna go confront it. Seems kind of like a douchebag move.
In its house.
It's not a house.
Oh, all right.
Write that down.
Yeah, it's not a house. But yeah, you'll once I don't know if Tony's put it out there. If I get the okay to put it out there, I'll put it out there. But you'll hear it from him, obviously. But it is, and this thing covers a lot. Like this next film, like I haven't even started it editing wise yet, but we cover a lot of ground. We saw like the guy who owns the place that we were at has a lot of evidence. Let's just say that a lot. Like I think we looked at 1,200 photographs.
1,200 photographs.
Yeah.
Of orbs or of what are we talking about here?
Not orbs. And these have not been made public. I do not believe. So stuff you'll like. Really? Like there's a lot of like, really? Because like we filmed an entire like interview with him and he had a screen and was showing them and we were like, this is too much. This is too much.
Without giving away too much, do we have any sort of bipedal, anything that looks like a figure that people would be familiar with at the very least? You know? Okay. All right.
Yes. Yeah. There's some weird stuff.
How about a name?
Of what? I can't say the name of the thing because that'll give
of the entity.
Yeah, I can't give the name.
Oh, the name is of the place. That's interesting.
Yes, the name, the location is the name of the it's gonna be the name of the documentary. It's gonna be also
You're giving away too much. You're giving away too much.
I don't want to get you fired.
Yeah, no. Vaporeon. Sorry, I saw a comment.
Don't read the chat. These people are terrible. All right, they're
Some of
terrible
them are
people.
hilarious, man. But no, it's yeah. I'm there's a lot of these places that I definitely want to go to. There's a lot of them I don't. But it's funny you say, like, when you said, like, how do you feel about this? Even before this, like, I'm gonna tell you about a dream, but so you can play the music.
Yes, let's go, dude.
While I worked for Tim, while I worked for Tim, I lived with Aaron, actually, like, and another coworker. We had like a townhouse, and we lived on an Air Force training ground.
Mm-hmm.
And so two times I saw the black triangle. One time I was driving and I was at the Jefferson County Fairgrounds in West Virginia, and it's a long stretch of middle of nowhere, right? And then in my rearview mirror was 3 white lights, and I just pulled over to the side of the road, and when I went to look, it went around to the front of my car. It went and I had already seen it once, but I didn't realize that it was it. I thought it was a power line with lights on it.
Yeah.
And it was just sitting there because that's how high it was. It wasn't that high. It was really low. And then when I saw it in my mirror, I thought it was a C-17, because that's what the training facility is for, is they fly C-17s, and those things are really big. They're transport planes, right? And well, I guess every plane is a transport plane, but they're like large equipment transport planes. Like they carry planes inside of them.
Yeah.
And they take off like literally a football field away from my apartment. So when they take off, it like rattles the whole, house. And so when they're close, they're close. They're not sneaking up on you. Like a C-17 can't sneak up on you. This thing was dead silent. And it moved. It was probably 40 feet above the ground. And it just moved from one side of my car to the other. I immediately called Tony, and I immediately called Shane. Like, I was like, guys, it's here. And like, I've never thought that those were alien. I've never thought the black triangles are alien. I've always thought that they were like clandestine military,
back engineered.
Yes. And that, just given my location, that's what I thought. But after seeing the black triangle the 2 times, and it was in really close proximity. One was in like February and the next one was in like April. I started having really bad night terrors, and I've never had those before in my life. I've never had sleep paralysis. I've never had anything like that. And
this is after seeing this thing?
Yes. And so the ones that I remember, and it was not like, once a month, it was like every night I was having a night terror, and it was in my room. And the 2 that I always had, one was I was always being wrapped up by a snake.
Huh.
Like I was being coiled, like constricted by a snake. And then I would wake up with no breath. And I attributed that to, because I have sleep apnea, like pretty bad. I got a CPAP machine, all of that. And I attributed it to me not being able to breathe, and it's constricting me. And so I was like, that's a weird way to manifest that. But then it evolved into the snake would have me, and then it would disappear, and I would look out my window. So I had like my bed, and my window is right to the right side foot of my bed. And I would look out there, and there'd be 3 grays in the window looking at me.
Ooh.
And every time they would start to put their hand through the glass like it wasn't there, and I would wake up screaming the Lord's name, like every time. And I would actually say it, because I lived with my fiance at the time, and she would, eat it, like, because I would sleep during the day sometimes, and she would run down the stairs and be like, well, you were screaming the name of Jesus. And I'd be like, interesting. And she's like, so I thought I'd come check on you. And even at night, she would like wake me up from screaming that and be like, it's okay, it's okay. And I would scream snake, I would scream that. And then one time I did have a dream that I was in brain, like mind speak with a Sasquatch. And
really,
Yeah, and
Is this around the same time frame?
yeah, all of this happened in the same exact time frame, like within 1 month, like every night for a
Heavy
month.
dude.
Yeah, and then we moved.
Wait.
And
No.
it stopped. Yeah.
No. What are you talking to the Sasquatch about?
I don't remember. That. She said I was in my. This is the funny part, because to her this is funny. To me, it's terrifying. Is that she said I woke her up going, "Woof, woof." I was like, "That's weird. That's weird."
Oh,
You're whooping to it.
I was whooping
Damn,
in my sleep. Yeah, and like jibber jabbing, like blah 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 blah.
Oh,
You were
Wesley,
doing the samurai
Wesley.
talk?
I was doing the samurai talk. Yeah.
You're all fucked up, Wesley. I like this. You're the.
But like I don't like until like later, like I was like, this is just really weird dreams I'm having. And then but when I left that house and we moved to a completely different area, it all stopped.
This is like
the
when
dreams all
Tim
stopped.
moved his compound or something. You moved as well.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Huh. So it started off when you saw this triangular aircraft. Like you would say it's a one-person aircraft that kind of floated by you.
It was the size of a bus, like 3 buses in a triangle.
Did this strike
So
you
not
as
yet.
like military craft or something?
Oh, yeah.
Outside of it. Okay.
So yeah, and I lived 100 yards from the military aircraft training facility. Like I ate, like they had a breakfast cafe there that I went and ate at the weekends. You could watch the
this
planes
is
take off. So.
a common right black triangle military craft. I forget what it is, but it's now been revealed.
Yeah, the TR-3B.
Well, there's the B2 Spirit, and then there's something else. The B2 Spirit has sort of a jagged back end to it, but there's another one. I forget what it is. Black
TR-3B, right?
Oh yeah, TR-3A Black Manta. I'm sure TR-3B is a very similar version of it.
Do you remember? So this is what made it stand out to me when I saw it, and why I contacted Tony.
This is a banger. This
That's
is a banger
because-
shirt. Caution UAP pilot in training.
Oh, that's
I got another question before you go on though. Where do you put this? Where do you put that kind of phenomenon? Because now you're pretty sure it's coming from a military base, which is human, but you're having supernatural experiences because of it. You think it's the technology that?
I don't know. Like I don't know what to attribute it to, but the irony of it that it was there is so. You've been to the castle.
The old one, the first one?
Yeah, the castle, the house, the mansion.
Yeah.
So do you remember, did you come in on a really long bridge? There's a really long bridge that leads to it. So like, and that bridge is where, I don't know if you remember, there's an episode of the Confessionals where a guy called in to say him and his dad saw the triangle on a bridge in a certain location. His name, I'm not going to say his name because people will go find the episode and you'll say where it is. And I go, but that's the same location.
Ooh.
Do you remember?
I didn't realize that.
We were talking to Nathaniel Gillis, and he describes it as the phenomenon, right? And that the phenomenon takes all these different sort of visages, and so there's clearly a shape-shifting aspect. We talked to Jules of the Grey Pilled podcast, and we talked quite a bit about tulpas or thought forms, which in some ways kind of sounds reductive in that it reduces the experience to something that's generated by your own mind. I don't think that's the case at all. In fact, it sounds much more like the more that you can focus on a thing, the more you can flesh that idea out, the more that you can then create a sort of dummy for these things to inhabit, which might explain sort of like the Slender Man phenomenon, right? Where it enters internet lore in a big way, creepypastas. It becomes so popularized that all of the focus on it gives a temporary vessel, let's say, for something to manifest in. I'm wondering if we have, and this is totally schizo speculation, integrated our technology so intimately with the supernatural realm, because it seems that a lot of our technology is inspired, by supernatural entities, the muses and things like that. But the example I like to give is Carlos Santana channeling Metatron, which he gives up that juice in a Time magazine interview, I believe. So we have a long history of people channeling entities to create things, whether it's art or even technology or things of that nature. So what if the integration between certain levels of military technology and the supernatural realm has become so seamless that focusing on that technology and thinking about it is looking into the phenomenon. And the phenomenon then begins to look back at you. Because a lot of that, like staring into the abyss until the abyss stares back at you, it is hyperfixation on the supernatural commonly can lead to the supernatural manifesting in some way, shape, or form. Poltergeist activity, you name it, sleep paralysis, yada, yada, yada. And it almost doesn't seem to make sense because what you're looking at is interpreted as a nuts and bolts aircraft. But what if the way that nuts and bolts aircraft came to be in this physical realm was first by some sort of supernatural influence, and that there's not really a separation there between what you saw? And I'm sure after you saw that was something that, you were pretty enamored by for quite some time, right? So now you're focusing on the phenomenon, as Nathaniel Gillis would put it, and the phenomenon then starts to focus on you. What's that?
I took a video as well. I could send you.
Oh, please.
It's far away, but once I realized what it was, got it. I'll send you that. But I agree with you. I believe that there's, like if you're back engineering spiritual technology, it's going to have spiritual implications.
Right.
And,
so I think that's probably what's happening there. And that's why the same thing happens where you have this a-hole's CE5 app, and everybody's calling in these orbs or these craft into, and then what do they get after that? They get all kinds of poltergeist activity in their homes, and this overlap between what was just UAPs and now
we got a segment in the Meadow Project just for what you're saying.
Interesting. So what do you make of that? Do you think that there's any validity to that?
Oh yeah. I know I agree with you because I try not to think on those dreams anymore.
Because instinctually.
Yes, because I was at the time, like I was thinking a lot about that. I was thinking a lot about what I saw. I was thinking a lot about what it meant. I was thinking a lot about what the dreams made me feel, and it felt like they kept getting worse and worse and worse. And we had what I can say is when we moved, the dreams stopped, but waking things started happening there. And that's when I kind of took a step back and was like, I'm going to stop giving energy to this, because I think that whatever is making this happen to us is because of something I'm doing.
That's interesting.
And so we had, and like Tony and Shane, if you guys talk to them, will verify this. Like we had talked to them a lot about like, what do we do? And there was strange stuff that, like, I was not having the dreams anymore, but where there were strange things happening in our house. And then suddenly they all stopped and it never happened again. And I don't know exactly what changed, but I felt like I stopped giving my attention to things that I thought would do that. So I think and that's kind of the observation we make in this film, which to bring it back is like, these things are trying to establish a conversation. And if you take part in the conversation, it's going to go places.
So one of these images that's flashing over my shoulder, it's called TOPLOBSTA's Dog Man. And it's a joke that we say where I go and I put my birds away at night, and it's a pretty far walk to their coop back there. And when it's dark, I turn around and I walk back, and I have this feeling on my neck that is like something is there, but I never look. I don't stop. I don't turn around. I don't run. I walk back. I shoulders back, and I walk back normally. And the idea is TOPLOBSTA's Dog Man. It does not exist if you do not lay eyes upon it, if I don't turn around and feed that thing, whatever that
Quantum
is.
superposition.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
He exists, but then he doesn't exist. He's always in a state of standing in. I know exactly where he is. He's on the fence. This motherfucker's on the fence right behind, going into the wild area, and he's like, 8 feet tall, and he's just, and he's waiting because if I turn around, he's like, I will disembowel you. But I never turn around because I was like, there's no reason. You don't exist if I don't.
It's sort of like a mobster where if you don't see the crime, they don't have to kill you.
Exactly.
They just look away.
When I was younger, I used to have this. One of my best friends was like, "Why do you think of Bigfoot like this?" And I was like, "Well, we were sitting on a corner one day, and it was nighttime, and we're talking about Bigfoot. We were real little, like maybe 10 or 11." And I said, "Yeah, imagine Bigfoot. Like, look all the way down the street under the street lamp." And imagine seeing the silhouette of a thing that is, 10 feet tall, bright red eyes, and it's, breathing heavy and all that, da 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 da. And he's like, why would you ever think of Bigfoot like that? And I was like, why wouldn't it? It's a bipedal, at the least an animal, a bipedal animal that's 10 feet tall. And I said, imagine it, letting out this blood curdling scream or whatever. And I just never was able to get behind the idea of Bigfoot as being like anything other than absolutely terrifying. Absolutely. I mean, I'd been around. You ever go to the zoo and be around a bison? Have you ever been around a bison? It's like a breathing car. And it's kind of horrifying when you're next to it because it's like something about its life, its breathing.
Just
like
a horse.
resonates to your core. Yeah, a horse will do the same thing. If you're like, what is this? So
even a cow, like much smaller. You're like, I don't like that you're that much bigger than it.
Yeah, it's really, really, really terrifying. So, all right, there's a lot of places that I want to go with this conversation, but we have to get to what in the hell, because earlier you alluded to a raven mocker or a crow mocker, and how that applies to this entire situation. Know that that's where I want to go next, Wes. But I can't not ask you, given the nature of the conversation, focus begets a two-way sort of focus. What are you doing?
Well, also one more thing. What, as you said, in your waking life, things start to happen. I got to know what things.
Yeah, what is the waking thing?
So
what are the things?
So we moved into this house in like outside Harper's Ferry, and it was my former fiance and I, and we started, like, the first night we were there, we started having weird things happen. And like at first we were like, this place is old and like falling apart, right? Like we were like, we're like trying to figure out, like, is there something, and like, are there raccoons in the crawl space? Are there raccoons in the not attic, but it's like where in the roof, And we started doing Bible study, and so we were sitting in the living room, and the how the house was set up was sort of like the living room was one side of the house, and then there were two bedrooms on the other side of the house, split down the middle, right? And we're in the living room, and the door was open to our bedroom, and my dog Charlie was in there laying in the bed just being a dog, and we were reading Genesis. We're starting with Genesis, and at one point I paused and asked her a question. I was like, what do you think about this passage? And we both heard my voice come out of the bedroom.
Oh, damn it, dude. That upset the dog.
Well, that's the thing, is we both heard it. We looked at each other, and
no, I mean, it upset the dog that you have with you right now. I can hear you started whining as soon as you said that.
He's in a crate, so he might have to come out for a minute and sit on my lap, if that's okay.
No, whatever you got to do, man. It's fine.
But yeah, so we went in there, and Charlie, my older dog, was sitting there looking up at the bed, and we were like, all right.
Looking up at the bed or looking up at the ceiling?
At the bed. Like,
what
as
did
if
the voice say?
I have no idea. It was like it was talking to her, right? It was like I was talking to her. It was like I was saying, like, do you want to go out? I'm gonna grab him 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead. You know why that's when I was living in this other house we moved to when I was like 15 years old, and I had an American bulldog, which is like big bulldog with abs and such. And he one night I was just mentioning about my dog Wes.
Yeah, this is Heiser.
Hey,
Michael Heiser.
That's right. I saw the pictures. You let her in. You let the fat cow cat keep screaming to come in. So he's my dog is sat in the hallway outside of my room, and he just keeps like staring at the drop down for the ladder that leads up into the attic, and he'll sit there and he'll stare at it, and then all of a sudden he'll get up and his hackles will raise and he'll start like growling and barking at it, and then he'll sit down and get real docile again, and then he would just do that, rinse and repeat. And I'm laying on my bed and I'm aware that this is happening and it's upsetting me, and above my bed, directly above my face, is a vent to my attic, and I'm just staring at that thing wondering like what in the hell. And in that house, after I moved out, my mother would tell me that she would hear the feet of like something tiny but bipedal running through, sounded like a lot of them running through the house, jiggling door handles, opening doors. One case in particular, my mother is in the room and my stepdad is in the bathroom. He's brushing his teeth, and they hear pop, 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 and then something jiggles the handle and opens the door. And the response that they had was it's like there was an intruder. So my mom shot up in the bed and looked over to the door, and my stepdad came running out with toothpaste on his mouth, and they're both looking like for an intruder, because it wasn't a "did you hear that" moment. It was a "somebody's in the house and they just opened the door" moment. And the dogs, by this time, the American bulldog had passed, so she has French bulldogs, and they're all stood up on the bed too, you know, in this mode where they're getting ready to bark and they're growling at whatever just opened this door. And there's nothing there. And I always felt really unsettled in that house. We had an Elmo, a Tickle Me Elmo in that house that my mom,
big mistake.
Huge mistake, dude. Huge mistake. So she would get the dogs all kinds of like stupid toys, you know, and Tickle Me Elmo, by the time we had gotten ready to trash him, he had the fur ripped off his face, so it's just Tickle Me Elmo's animatronic skeleton is exposed, and for whatever reason, no matter what you did, if you took the batteries out of him, I threw him down the stairs into the basement. I took the batteries out because I'm trying to watch a movie, and his voice is all distorted because the dog screwed him up, and he's going ho ho ho, that tickles, and but the batteries aren't even in him, and until the point where we smashed him up in the backyard. There you go. So weird house, but yeah, animals have a way of knowing, and it sounds like you had a little doppelganger situation going on there, Wes.
Yeah, it was strange, and there were a couple like other things that happened, and then it just started to peter off. And then I guess I took my attention off of it, and it just stopped happening. I don't know. I mean, there was a lot more scripture reading in the house, so maybe that had something to do with it. But yeah, no, I don't know.
I don't know what to make of that, because I agree. Like,
it's hard to like think of it in a like and explain it, because these things happen to you while your life's happening, right? Like they happen, and you come home from work and it's like, I hear me in there, you know, like, and what do you do with that? And like, I haven't really reflected on it for that reason, you know, like I've talked about it a couple of times. I talked about it on Inverted World when I was on there, back like last year. And I don't know, maybe go find that if you're watching this and want to know more, because I was a lot closer to it at the time. It was like happening concurrently when I was on there. But yeah, I just stopped paying attention to it. And I like I said, I don't have a history of these things happening. I don't have a like ghost story for every year of my life or anything, but it's weird times in my life where this stuff that I can't explain seems to happen. Like I alluded to earlier, like something happened last week when I was working on the film, and like I put out a work cut of it, and just minutes were missing from it. I was like, that's weird. That doesn't make sense. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, okay, that same night was a night that I did have the dogs staring at the ceiling, like you were saying, and they looked and both in tandem went.
Ah, that's not good. Well, I mean, at the very least, you got raccoons, dog.
Well, maybe, but not possible where that happened. And then later the same night, I was sitting. It's okay, buddy. Sorry. I was sitting here, and right here, I had a grocery bag that had some just odds and ends in it, and it was sitting. And like, have you ever put a bowl inside of a paper bag and it goes like that? You know, like you're going to go to a cookout or something, and you put like your pitch inside the paper bag, and you're like, nope, this doesn't fit in this bag.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I'm sitting there, and this had like, it didn't have a bowl in it. It had like some papers in it, like a couple of papers. I had taken most everything out. So I had like, there was a receipt in the bottom, and there was like a letter that was unfolded in there, some stuff I was going to throw out. Right. And it's sitting there mostly empty, and out of my peripheral, I'm sitting in my chair over there. The thing goes and spreads open like that. And Heiser's sitting in the bed, and he looks at it and perks up, and I just out of the corner of my eye look at it, and I didn't want to turn my head, but I looked out, and as soon as I looked at it, it held for like a second and a half, and then went poof.
That's strange.
And I was like, that's weird. And then it was later that night that something happened to my unit, my computer, like the editing bay. I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, what happened in the film isn't possible. So it was moments of the film were missing that I couldn't have gotten rid of them because I'm sure you guys are familiar with Premiere. Like when you lock and nest a section and you have the nests within another sequence, you cannot edit them without opening and unlocking that sequence. But it was just moments of those sequences were just gone. I had to re-edit them and add them back in.
Interesting.
Anything significant in those sequences?
Kind of. Not what you would think. But they were key moments, but they weren't like evidence or something like that. They were just key moments of the narrative. And they were parts that were laborious. So there were parts that had lots of effect work, because we have a lot of visual effects in this, and those moments were like chopped down.
What's interesting about that is it doesn't have to be like a key moment in the sense of like some big reveal that might, gain you insight. A lot of, you only need to look at like the Skinwalker Ranch story and whatever poltergeist activity that they were experiencing there. And poltergeist activity is kind of like a general term just for, seemingly mysterious events happening that are unexplainable. They were having just inconveniences take place. Like some of their equipment ended up in a tree.
Yeah.
And it was like for it to get all the way up in the tree. And it's like, it didn't even make any sense. Oftentimes people refer to these things as like trickster spirits and shit like that. And people who are much more like new age woo woo or into like DMT will talk about like the elves, the machine elves, and how they have like this jester nature. There does seem to be, honestly, somebody said something and I was like, oh my God, I can't ignore that, which is like, I am a bit of a troll on Twitter, but even that word, like the spirit of what you're doing, like trolling, right? What one Norwegian belief system calls a troll is through another lens, some sort of a demonic spirit.
Yeah.
And I'm
like an elemental. Yeah.
Damn it, dude.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah, or Trickster or any of those. It's all
Trickster,
Joker,
troll,
all of it. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I feel like being afraid of those terms gives them power too.
I mean, it's not that I'm afraid of it, but I'm like, oh, that's interesting, because I'll even call myself a troll. And it's like, when you're doing that, what are you actually saying? So, that sort of inexplainable inconvenience is something that is par for the course. That's on brand. You see it in a lot of things, especially like the poltergeist activity. Like, the poltergeist activity, for example, what evil is it that opens up your drawers and cabinets? Is it like this big, has it stood in the way? It'll leave you sitting there scratching your head as to the mystery of it all. Why has this happened? Why go out of your way to open up all my cabinets? All you've done here is confuse me and made, inconvenience my life slightly. Not something that can't be overcome, but it feels like what you experienced was the digital version of opening up all your cabinets.
Yeah, which is funny because like the idea is like they're opening the doors in your house to confuse you, so they open the doors in your soul, like
right,
put you at a
or
state
is it even
of like,
that, or are they just like, this is really gonna.
Well, I want you to be unsettled because an unsettled person is an open vessel, like and like they want to make you question yourself. They want to make you not sure. They want to make you you weaken the prey before you take it down.
It's something that I have to think about, and I know we're not going to get any answers here, but just on this topic of like looking into things and what does it mean that it starts to look back and interact back? Is this your cue to stop? Or, if you look at the ripple effect of looking into these things, for example, how many people do these documentaries reach? How many people do these episodes reach?
Mm-hmm.
And how many people does that then turn over to Christ? Because that's what we do constantly is we'll go look at this really strange thing. Here's our take on it. And here's ultimately what's important is developing a relationship with God.
Yep.
And, repenting and Jesus Christ is the way, the narrow path.
Yep.
And so are you meant to, and this is just me musing, but it's like, are you meant to stop looking at these things? Are you, and I'm not saying look into them to the point where now you're some sort of like numerologist or some crap and you're applying this in your everyday life, trying to rig the system and, bend it to your will. That's clearly not what I'm saying, but it's like you look into the phenomenon as Nathaniel Gillis puts it, and the phenomenon looks back, takes a form of whatever tulpa or something like that. It has its old tricks. It has some tricks that are adapted to you. And is that what it wants?
Mm-hmm.
Is for you to stop looking at it.
Yeah, the idea of fear not, right? We talk about that a lot. But then when I see what Merkel does with these documentaries, I instantly think, not me. Yeah. Not going to do that. Because
not going to catch me in the woods.
It just feels like at what point is provocation? And at what point is faith?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And then also, but if you're called to do it, and it's been loud and clear in your head to do this thing, then I understand that, which is something that me and David were talking about a couple of weeks ago. It's like, all right, are you called to do this? Because it seems like a dangerous thing. If my assumptions are correct about some of the consequences that I've received for even being next to this person, should we, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Should you then go and tempt this? These are questions that I can't answer. I don't think anyone could really answer. It's a personal thing.
I know that's what it gets, though. I know that's, you want to talk about the fruit that a thing bears. When the phenomenon starts looking back at you, I know, generally speaking, most people go, I just want to, when I had my whole experience and I didn't tell my wife, and I because I didn't want to talk about it, because I didn't think that I distinctly felt like talking about it and engaging in anything surrounding it was going to make it worse, right? Similar to the instinct that you had, Wes. I felt just instinctively the same way. And is that instinct, or does this thing want you to feel that way?
Mm-hmm.
Where it wants to scare you out of, and then, to Top's point, right? Fear not. The Bible tells you constantly to not fear, to not give in to fear, to not be afraid. So something happens to you, and the more you think about it, the worse the phenomenon gets, until you start to draw the correlation where you're like, not going to look into that anymore, not going to think about that, not going to talk about it, which I can certainly understand, because I did not want to talk about it with my wife or anybody for that matter. And is that what it wanted? I don't know. I mean,
Well, it's interesting because the question you're asking is the same question that's asked about the political stuff and the deep state stuff. Like, and the answer is the same. The answer, because when say like, what are we supposed to do about this stuff? What are we like? These things are happening. What are we supposed to do? Are we not supposed to fight it? Are we not? The answer is the same. You preach the name of Christ, and you fight the things that you can fight, and you don't try to engage on a higher level than you're called to do. And they are using the same tactics. Like, the thing about the powers that be, the deep state, the cabal, whatever, they don't have the control they pretend to have. The real alchemy going on is them convincing you that they are the power, that Satan is sitting in a throne somewhere being like, haha, everything's going according to plan. It's like, motherfucker, your plan is meaningless in the eyes of God. Like, it's his plan. You don't even realize that you're the one being played here. And with all of your ancient wisdom, you being the most wise of the you're nothing. You're nothing. And don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of it. It doesn't, not being afraid does not include not being cautious. It doesn't mean don't be reckless. It just means don't be afraid. They are not in control. And these things are not that attack you are not in control of you. They're affecting you. But we already know the answer. We know where relief comes from. We know where help comes from. We know where our strength comes from. And it doesn't come from us. It's not anything we do. It's reliance on something higher. And that's the same for both of these realms. And honestly, your show exists because they are connected. These worlds are connected. The paranormal things that happen to people in their homes, those things are connected to they're interacting with the CEOs and the corporate people and the politicians. It's the same things, I don't think half of these things are who they claim to be. There are guys out there deliverance people that are like, I spoke to this entity, and it's like, I'm sure you did. It's any Jack or Jill out there will be like, all right, I'm gonna go pretend to be Osiris real quick.
That's the thing. I think doing this show, we've realized that they're never going to really tell you their name. No. That's something extremely significant, because if you know their name, then you can control them. It's like that's solomnistic magic or something like that, right?
Yeah, there's power in the name, and that's why there's power in the name. In the name of Jesus Christ, it's obviously you guys have covered before that. There's people out there that have had these incidents and that hasn't worked for them. And I think there is some sort of alchemical reason of why a human being who's got a knife, who's going to stab you, and you're like, please no, in the name of Jesus, they're like, I'm going to cut you anyway. I think that works, by transitive property applies to things that are imbuing somebody. So if you're dealing with a person who is oppressed or possessed and wants to do something to you, they're like, those rules don't apply right now. Those rules, I'm touching something physical, you could be playing a video game and want to punch somebody, and they're like, sorry, I've got God mode on. Every time you punch me, it doesn't hurt me. But then you can get in your car, drive to their house, open the door, and punch them in the face. God mode didn't do anything for them. So there's some sort of allowance. They're following some rule that they could get around that bypass, but they can't come into you. If you're imbued, if you're an occupied vessel, they can't. Those two opposing spirits can't exist inside you.
In the same, yeah. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this, Wes. We talked about it earlier on the top of the show, and you said that it was going to come up at some point. Mm-hmm. This idea of the crow mocker or the raven mm-hmm. mocker. How does that apply to this story of the Meadow, and what even is it?
So I don't know a lot about it. I assume it's one of the many names of shapeshifters, brujas, things like that. I didn't personally research the crowmocker. I just know that Trey has, and he discusses it briefly in the film. It's okay, bud. Sorry. But I don't want to get too deep into it because of how the things unfold in the film, and they're interesting. And
all right.
we do draw some connections to things within the film that I think he's got to go.
If you want to take a quick break and you can come back on camera if you want to let him outside.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah, go ahead. No problem,
Right,
dude. We'll keep it going. We'll wait for you to come back. I could actually read a little bit about this Raven Mocker here. So we said before that it's a Cherokee spirit. It's said to prey on the sick or dying to extend its own lifespan. At night, it is believed to fly through the air in fiery form. That sounds a lot like a phoenix. Outstretched arms resembling wings and sparks trailing behind it. That's pretty specific. Fiery form with sparks trailing behind it and outstretched arms that resemble wings. I don't like to often say like spiritual things that ancients have seen were just their inability to describe technology that was beyond their understanding.
That sounds a lot like that, though.
That does kind of sound a lot like that. That's fascinating. So it flies through the air in a fiery form, leaving a trail of sparks behind it. The flight is accompanied by the sound of rushing wind, and their cries described as resembling a raven's dive call, and they're considered an omen of death. So there's an audible noise, right? There's something.
Sounds like if you were a kid in Gaza, that's how you describe.
Yeah, dude. Right? I mean, that's what I'm saying. It sounds a lot like that. It's fascinating. Raven mockers are said to gather at the homes of the dying, tormenting their victims by pressing on their chest to restrict breathing or throwing them on the ground. So that sounds a lot like poltergeist activity, right? Getting tossed out of your bed or pulled out of your bed, but then you also have that sleep paralysis aspect where there's something on your chest restricting your breathing. After the victim dies, the Raven Mocker is believed to remove the heart to absorb the victim's remaining lifespan. Damn. No marks are left on the body, but the heart is said to be missing. That's fascinating. How would you determine that? Sacred text, mysteries of the Cherokee. That's interesting. That's some of the footnotes, and then Cherokee myths and legends, 30 tales retold, McFarland and company. Although feared for their power, other witches are said to avoid the Raven Mocker. Medicine men using special knowledge can detect and repel them from entering homes. Tradition holds that if a Raven Mocker is seen in its true form, it dies within 7 days. Man, that's awfully specific.
Samara comes and gets it.
I don't know what. I mean, we were talking about. I'll describe it to you in a second. Let me just finish this passage here. Gunskaliski, a renowned Cherokee shaman, was said to have destroyed several Raven Mockers by using a special tea made from duck root, enabling him to see them. I wonder how he then went about it. So one of the interesting details, Wes, about the Raven Mocker, it's said to fly through the air at night in a fiery form with outstretched arms and a trail of sparks behind it, and that it's accompanied by the sound of rushing wind and the cries of a raven's dive.
It's like a banshee.
Well, it sounds a lot like, I was telling Top, I don't often like to attribute sort of, what would you call it, a misunderstanding to ancient people, because, you know, it's like the more you look into things, the more you're like, oh, maybe the ancients did know what the hell they were talking about, you know, about some of these things that they were seeing. But sometimes that whole ancient aliens attribution of them not having the language to describe technology kind of seems like it applies. So when you have something flying through the air at night with a trail of sparks behind it in a fiery form, and the sound of rushing wind and the cries of a raven accompanying it, it sounds a lot like, I mean, that sounds like a combustion engine. You know what I mean? Like this, it sounds like
Iron Man.
Right. I just finished watching those films with my son. So I don't know. I mean, very interesting. And then, this is another interesting detail. They are said to gather at the homes of their victims, and they torment them by pressing on their chest to restrict breathing, which sounds a lot like sleep paralysis, or throwing them on the ground, which sounds a lot like poltergeist activity.
Oh, you guys should watch the Meadow Project and see what happens.
Interesting.
Full circle.
Full circle.
Like
what do you
maybe
think?
I will say in the trailer, there's a girl saying it grabbed me by the leg and threw me out of bed.
Oh, that's right. That is right, man. What the heck is that? That's bizarre. So what are you gonna do, Wes? Are you gonna keep doing this? You're gonna keep going to these places and seeing these things, and as long as you're armored up, right?
Yeah, and like there's gonna be places I won't go for sure, but for the most part, like I want to tell these people's stories. That's the thing I want to do, and I want to add, like, one thing I knew when I left my last place was whatever I do with what I can do, it's going to be to serve the kingdom of God somehow, like whatever I do. That doesn't mean I won't do any job ever that doesn't, you've got to put bread on the table.
Right.
But I don't want to actively do the opposite, right? Like I don't want to, that's what was hard about the politics stuff, is because it was offering, like at that job, we were talking about solutions that did not include the truth.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that doesn't mean that they aren't viable solutions for the time being, or that it's that you're not extracting truth from fact. And you may be saying things that are factual, but they're not truth. Right. And, and I'm not willing to do that anymore. I'm not willing to be like, oh, there's solutions for these like geopolitical nightmares we're living that don't include like knowing the truth. There are solutions that don't involve like saying that like we just got to vote the right guy in again. Like it's not doing it for me. It's like, and I'm done siding with politicians or world leaders or public figures that if you are not on Christ's side, I'm not on your side. Like at the end of the day. And it's like, it is that 10 years ago, I would not have been talking like this. I've been like, well, they're the right guy, like lower taxes and, a better foreign policy. We're going to be sitting pretty. And I'm like, no, it's not true anymore. Yeah. It's not true anymore.
It's funny because as you're saying that without like getting too deep into it, he's got his headphones in. Okay, he's got his puppy. He's doing his thing there. There's I guess it's hard to say, but I think that these things are actually not just incompatible, but I think that they're in opposition to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we've heard about what we do, that there are people have issues. They have issue with the faith aspect of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whereas you think that you can balance these things, but you really can't, because I guess the reality is just they are polar opposites. They seem for a long time to me that they were one and the same, or at least can go hand in hand, like one leads into the other. But one does lead into the other. I think politics should lead into this idea of spirituality and Christianity, but you've got to leave it at the door. And it gets frustrating for both parties that are in either camp when they're looking at each other, because they can't make sense of it.
Yeah, and I think people hear that and they think like, so what do you suggest, a theocracy? And it's like, no, it's just that any system is a flawed system if people aren't imbued by the Spirit of Christ. Like if you like, I'm a free enterprise guy, right? Like I don't call it capitalism anymore, because what does that even mean? Like we're in a capitalist society and it's a corporatist nightmare, but like people being free to make their own, to exchange goods and services, sure. But just like socialism or communism break down because of the godlessness of it, so too does free enterprise, because you're not dealing with honest brokers. So people can make, like, freedom in Christ is not freedom to be libertine, it's freedom to do the right thing. And if you are not individually doing the right thing from the bottom up, then the system is doomed. And so that's the same for the political system. If there's I don't care what bill's being passed, if it's not being passed with the spirit of like goodness, like, and doing the right thing. And those things are not designed to do that. They're designed to be big, to obfuscate the many bad things they do with a name like the Dream Act or whatever, like they want it to sound as possible or as good as as possible. And that's once again, it's the same with like the new age. You've talked about it a lot, David, where it's like a lot of these things that they say, like, the health benefits of this, the mental health benefits of these practices. Yeah, I'm sure, or something to like Eastern philosophy and like chakra. I'm sure there is something that's wonderful about that, but at what cost? What is the root of it? Yoga, the same thing, like, oh yeah, those stretches are great. Are you trying to channel interdimensional entities while you do it?
Yeah.
So
that's exactly where I've been at lately with the whole yoga thing. It's like, I can probably use some stretching. My back is pretty stiff. And I think it's a good thing to incorporate stretching, especially if you're lifting and things like that. But at what point are you trying to meditate and get in contact with something to align chakras, make yourself some sort of an antenna of sorts to receive?
It's just CE5. It's CE5
exactly
is the
what it
new
is, yeah.
yoga, right? And it's like, have you ever seen that show, The OA?
Dude, yeah.
Where they
wild show.
Yeah, because that's and I think that's the difference. Is like you could do all of those. They're literally just making body sigils, like
that's exactly
repeated body sigils, and like yoga, you could interpret to be the same thing, but you don't have to do that. You can do a downward dog and a whatever, and you're not trying to communicate with Iwas. So like,
I just got this thing in my back, dog.
Yeah,
just trying to work this thing out of my back. We've been in a similar place. Everybody knows that the whole falling out with Clint, and we're not doing Dangerous anymore. But after it was removed, and I think God removed it, I was able to look back and say, like, yeah, dude, I had to compromise my beliefs in order to engage with those ideas in a way that wasn't going to constantly derail the show. You know what I mean? Because it's like, if you tell me that we just need to do X, Y, and Z, and it's great that Kash Patel is the head of the FBI, what I really want to tell you is it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter at all that Kash Patel is the head of the FBI. It doesn't matter that your guy it doesn't matter. But what that makes is for every episode to be a contentious episode where I am unwilling to move from my position, because in order to engage with these ideas and have a conversation that's going to last 2 hours, I need to be able to say more than it doesn't matter.
But the funny thing is that on the flip side of that, that's the response that you would get from the political side. Like, I'm sure if we sat down with like a Tim Pool, he would give you very much, doesn't apply. Doesn't apply here. And it's like, yeah, you're right, it doesn't. But neither does your, not from my worldview, and I think my worldview is correct.
Yeah, and I know you guys have a certain opinion of Tim and stuff, and
you know what? To be honest, Wes, I like Tim, and I think that he's coming around. I don't think you keep a guy like Cashman around, and Tim obviously loves him. You know what I mean? So like, I think what Tim has done is he just worked himself into a position where he can't really engage with these ideas, because everything he's built has been predicated on engaging with these ideas instead.
Yeah. What I was saying is it's unfair. I've never spoken to Tim in that manner. I'm talking like the people that we have, the real politic heads, the political heads, like Dave Smith.
Yeah,
he gave us that. I reject the premise. I was like, yeah, dude, I reject your fucking premise. Like, you can keep debating. It doesn't matter. What you've done here is, I mean, it's kind of astounding that you've built such a large following doing this, but like in the end, it's like, it's fruitless in a way, because where are we leading people? Where are we going?
I have a great Dave Smith anecdote from where he was on our show when we did the live event, and I had been there all week setting it up, and I was just flustered and done by the time the show started. And I walked up to Tim, was asking me to do something. And on the mic, Dave yelled at me. He was like, "Get your genocide out of here." And I was like, "The hell?" And I had a shirt on and it had Hebrew like words across it. He was like, "Get out of here." He was like, "What's that say?" And I said, "It says Jesus is Messiah." He goes, "Oh, you just want to piss off everybody."
Yeah, that's what
actually
upset
hilarious.
me. I was upset about that Dave Smith episode, because it was like, I do regard him as a great mind in his ability to.
He was being facetious, I should say. Like he
no,
wasn't.
no,
he didn't like that
obviously
kid.
in that moment. But when I spoke to him, I was just trying to get him to. I wanted to see what it was like when a guy like him engaged with these ideas, and I couldn't even get him to engage with the ideas. He rejected the premise outright. He wouldn't step foot in that supernatural kind of a place, and I thought that it would have been an easy compromise for him to make, given the state of the world. And certainly what happens at the upper echelons of politics, given all the Epstein-esque kind of things that we're subjected to now. And I thought, well, certainly now more than ever, a guy like Dave Smith can entertain these ideas. And I was fascinated to see how he interacted with them. He wouldn't even give me that, and I said,
yeah,
everybody's
bizarre.
on ramp is in a different location.
It is. But I had never, and I hadn't up until that moment. And since then, I still have not had it happen again. Had anyone completely reject engaging with the ideas, just flat out reject engage. I won't engage. When you say I reject the premise, more effectively, if you go back and watch that episode, what he said is, I am unwilling to engage with those ideas for an hour and a half to 2 hours. And I thought, fascinating.
Yes.
I've never experienced that before. And I thought that I would get something totally different from Dave Smith there. And it's not what I got. So, I mean, I don't know.
My read on that is probably different than yours, or maybe it's not. You tell me if I'm wrong. Somebody who's unwilling to engage with an idea is not somebody who dismisses them out of hand. It's somebody who cannot deal with the reality of them.
Yeah. I think that Dave Smith is used to being, and I'm not saying this to his detriment. I mean, if anything, it's actually a compliment. He's used to being able to engage at a very high level with any topic that you throw at him. If you have Dave Smith in your chair, if you have him on your stage, then you are guaranteed a high level engagement with whatever the subject matter is. He does not engage with something, it seems to be the case, that is going to have him give a subpar performance. And so it was like he doesn't know enough about it.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a handle on the situation, and rather than engage in it in any sort of lower capacity than what you're typically used to seeing from Dave Smith, he's just not going to engage with it at all, which is like, it's a safe bet. And I don't dislike these people. It's the same thing with Tim. I don't dislike Tim. We bust his balls a lot, but and I kind of really just want Tim to get it. And I think he does kind of get it on some level. It's just like, how much are you willing to pull back the curtain? But what's a shame about that is, like, we don't have any curtain. There's no curtain here.
Yeah.
If you throw something at me that I don't understand, I'm going to tell you that and I just don't understand it. I like to think that I get it though. And I think that he does, but he's just like I tweeted something this morning. I said, "Are you having fun?" And it was just like to Twitter at large. And I think the reason you stop having fun is because you won't allow yourself to be seen as the clown at all.
Yeah.
And that puts you in a really, really rough spot. So Dave Smith, it's like, in order to engage in this supernatural conversation, he might have had to admit in that moment, much like I will admit at any given moment, I don't know anything about that. It seems that it's valid, but I know nothing about it. I've not spent any time looking into it. So on that topic, but that lowers you to the clown. And if you don't want to be that, well, then you don't engage with it at all. But I think once you do that, you stop having any fun. And I just wonder if these guys are having fun anymore. I don't know.
Right. And there's something to discussing it that is acknowledging it, and acknowledging it is tough, because if you have a stable, I feel like that's what a lot of not new Christians, but people who are becoming like Christ curious, it's at the start, it's very, you know what I mean?
Christ
like,
curious. That's a great shirt for people that I don't know, but I like to know.
But I think it's very destabilizing at first, because you are built on a foundation of sand, and to move to a foundation of stone, it requires some movement on your part. It requires you deconstructing your domicile there and moving it somewhere else. And that's very uncomfortable, because at least where it's the devil type thing. It's very, you're comfortable in that. And I was we were talking about Sleep Token before the show, and they have a line that's something about like discordant days become harmony in your mind. And it's like you are too afraid to move to what would be better because you are comfortable with what's not working because it's yours.
Yeah.
So like moving from dysfunction to function is scary because it means something with you or something around you is wrong. Even though you know it is, you're like, you can reconcile and say like, it's not that bad, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm not diagnosing Dave Smith. The dude's 100,000 times smarter than I am. So like, but you do see that in people, right? You do see it where it's like, I'm not going to, it's the like, why don't you leave your abusive husband? And you're like, you don't get it. He's not like that all the time, you know, like,
yeah.
And it's the same, like he would be the first person to say like, the world's messed up. Right. And he'd be like, hey, there's this great hope that did the most amazing thing that you could like put your faith in. And it not absolves you, but he took the brunt of your punishment for you. And your role in it and how that can change you. That's a hard pill to swallow for somebody
like
who's built their life on them.
Yeah, he's.
I'm not saying he did that. I'm just saying people do.
No, it's the Jordan Peterson fallacy, right? Where it's like, what do you believe in God? What do you mean by God? It's like, do you believe it? It's a simple question, but I guess like, you know, to these people, these very high intellectuals, like, I think if they have to come to terms with it, I think I was mentioning this on a previous show, but if you have to come to terms with this thing existing, that means that you have to also come to terms with your entire personality, yourself, what you've done before and what you're going to do after. That has to die. Yeah, that's painful. All of that ego.
I'll somewhat push back on you again on the Jordan Peterson topic, because I actually like that answer from him, is because he's saying what Christ means by believe in me and what Paul means by put your faith in him is not what most Christians do. Most Christians say like, yeah, I believe it. Anyway, what's on HBO tonight? You know, like it's passive. And he's saying like belief in something like that is much more powerful. And like,
I'm referencing when they ask him if he believes in God.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm like,
and I
okay.
think,
yes,
right.
sir.
And I think that there is, yes, Christ made it simple. However, what belief means, I think, is a big question, because like I've seen those books at the bookstore that are like very passive. You're okay. I'm okay. Christianity. It's like, just acknowledge that he did it and you're good. And it's like, that is not what belief is. Belief changes you from the inside out. Like Christian does not mean follower of Christ. It means emulator of Christ. It means change. Like when it's the whole like sinners come to me as you are, but go from me and sin no more. There's a big caveat there of like, it doesn't mean you're not going to ever sin again. It means your attitude towards sin changes. It means that I don't want to do this anymore. I want to die not only to the world, but to me. That's tough. And that level of belief is, man, it's tough. It is rough. And, you know, it's like vomiting out who you are, who you've come to accept, because we do rationalize ourselves as good people, right? We're like, I'm a good person, but you have to accept the fact that like, oh man, I'm trash without you. I'm literal garbage without you. I'm made in the image of God, and I'm a desecration of his name by my very existence without the Holy Spirit, without redemption
really
through Christ.
Hard when you've been put up on a pedestal because of your materialistic ideas, right? So you're really good at engaging with the materialistic realm, with politics and all these things, and your understanding of it and all of your study has elevated you to all of a sudden a person of authority, somebody who's celebrated. And these people, I think, are afraid not only of engaging with these ideas that they don't understand and having to admit that whatever they've done is you know, folly, but it also makes them the low man on the totem pole. So you've climbed one totem pole for as long as you could, scratching and clawing your way to the top. And now all of a sudden you're afraid of being cast at the bottom of the next totem pole. But I don't see it that way at all. Going back to my engagement with Dave Smith, I thought it was fascinating, or would have been fascinating, to see how a guy with his mind interacts with these ideas. So it wouldn't cast Dave Smith at the bottom of the totem pole. It would just, you know, he would, like all of us, the more you learn, the more you realize you didn't know to begin with, right? That's kind of what learning is all about, in my opinion. And there is no totem pole. when it comes to belief in Christ, right? I think that there's like this idea that there's a hierarchy. I believe more than you. I'm more well studied than you, but Christ really has made it incredibly simple in a lot of ways. And it wouldn't have casted him in a negative light at all. But I think a lot of these people, they are guarding the gold.
And to your earlier point about like you've built yourself on these ideas, you've built it. It makes you feel like, oh, if I believe this, then it means these things I've done have no meaning. But it's the opposite. It's like the reason you were able to do that in the first place was because imagine how powerful like your testimony is going to be, and how like how your knowledge will evolve once the curtain is pulled back. Like it's not like I'm a metaphor guy, so it's like, and imagine training your whole life to understand music theory, and then somebody was like, hey, by the way, if you do this, you'll have perfect pitch, and you're like, no, because I understand it on a mathematical level. And it's like, yeah, but you could feel it and it's like, no, that'll make all my knowledge worthless. And it's like, no, it's not. If you have perfect pitch, imagine how powerful you're going to be musically if you already know this. Whereas if you're somebody with perfect pitch who's never studied music, you may be able to like play a tune, but if you can't hang with the studio musicians who can sight read sheet music, it's like, what good are you? You know, like,
dude, that's like, I'm never going to claim to be the Dave Smith of conspiracy and occultism, but I came through that way, right? I learned all of those ideas first, conspiracy and occult concepts and all this crap. I saw that first. And then when I finally came over to Christianity and realized that I had been not giving this thing that it's due, that had been there the entire time and was always like, all the information kept kind of flowing towards it. And I kept going, not today, not today. Once I did that, it didn't say wipe the slate clean. Everything you think you know is totally bullshit. And therefore forget it all. It was like, here is a much greater context for all the things you think you know.
Yeah. And you're an asset to believers who don't know those things.
So whenever I bump into somebody that's like, oh, you're just a Christian, you believe that your God is real when all these other gods aren't real. It's like, you think you understand what I am. I actually think those other ones are real too. They're just lowercase g, baby. Like, those are also real. And I've been through all that crap. If you want to sit here and talk to me about numerology and all this crap, like I've been through it. I understand it. I see the symbols. They're there. You know what I mean? You're not wrong in noticing that. But I got through all that and realized that I was wrong about my interpretation of these things. It's like, much of the information is real. The nature of it all is what's incredibly important. And if you don't have a grasp on the nature, then your interpretation of all the things that are real is skewed and massively to your detriment. And so I think it would have been the same thing. And who knows, everybody's journey is different. Dave Smith did say having a child made him believe in God. And my thing with that was like, well, then you should probably be tenaciously after that, no? As tenaciously as you are after everything else. But listen, it's the 2 hour and 10 mark. Let's bring it in for a landing here. One more time, Wes, we're gonna try to drop this tonight. So what's the date of the release of the documentary? Where can people find it and check it out?
It will be on moment.co. It's like a premiere website, and it comes out July 27th. July 27th. It'll drop at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I hope you guys, I hope everybody enjoys it. It's not what I think a lot of people are expecting. It's like I said, it's more of an adaptation of the stories of the book and some like casual insights on it. It's not meant to be like a diagnosis of what, we think or anything like that. Didn't feel appropriate.
I'm going to be texting you afterwards because I know obviously I can't ask you here on the show what you think is happening there, but after I watch it, I will be messaging you. And
if you guys want to bring me back, we could talk about it. We could talk about the stories.
That would be cool. Yeah, because there's so much that I want to ask you, but I don't want to give away too much. So I think it would be a good idea to have you back on and
is it in Georgia?
Not allowed to say TOPLOBSTA. Stop it.
No comment.
Unbelievable.
No comment.
Look, Wes, where else can everybody find your work? That's for the documentary. Anywhere else they could look you up?
Yeah, like you can check out my old work on YouTube. There's clips of it. Show called Cast Castle that I did. I'm proud of that. It was just a silly, stupid thing that we did, like a It's Always Sunny-ish type thing at the office. I saw a couple people saying they love the show Supernatural. We did 2 episodes that were direct spoofs of Supernatural with Tony Merkel, where we took on a tulpa that took the shape of Joe Biden.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, and spoiler, the way we couldn't figure out how to defeat him, so we just trapped him at the top of stairs and he couldn't get down.
Just give him ice cream at the top of stairs.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
Hey, Wes.
Yeah.
Are you having fun, dude?
Oh yeah, I'm having fun. I'm ready to move on from this film. I've been working on it since January, so yeah, it's been a long time coming in. I'm going right into the next one, and then we got another one right after that. So we're trying to be consistent, but not like oversaturate at the same time, or sacrifice quality for quantity. But there's a lot of stories to tell, and this, our whole team feels called to do this. Like, I'll say an encouraging thing, like Kent on our team, who is not a Christian, but he's not adversarial. I just remember at one point he called me during this and he said, I gotta go back to church. Just unprovoked or unsolicited. He was just like, I just feel like I should do that. And I was like, all right, in my ledger, 1. Like, got nice. 1. So this was worth it. One person being there. And I was like, yeah. And that's what we want from this ultimately is for people to say, because I'm sure you guys get it, the people that are like, hey, I wasn't even thinking about this, and now it's something I'm considering, and I see it for what it is, and I see the world for what it is, and that's what we want, is people to see the power of the Lord and understand that he's more powerful than the forces of evil.
Well, I think that's a great message. It's a great place to put a fork in it. And we'd love to have you back. Maybe next time we can grab somebody. I don't know if you have access to anybody who can come on and also elaborate a little bit on what goes on there at the Meadow. But I think we should run it back because a lot of people, this is a good way to get people to go and check it out. I know I'm going to check it out. I'll be there at 27th, 8 p.m. But I'm going to have a lot of questions after it's over. So
yeah, there'll be a lot of questions. Because like I said, it's not an analysis, it's a presentation, right? It's here's what happened, and not a like, okay, let's look into this, because I have my thoughts, and like there's several things I wanted to bring up on here. I was like, I can't go there yet.
See,
but,
all right. We're gonna have you back on. We'll talk about whatever the hell is going on at the Meadow. Guys, if you want to see it, be there on the 27th at 8 p.m. What's the website one more time?
Moment.co.
Moment.co. All right, guys, we know where to find it. Wes, thank you, brother. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And until next time, soon.
Until next time. Thank you, guys.
Until next time. Obey, submit, and comply, guys. Peace out.
The greatest hypnotist on planet Earth is a oblong box in the corner of the room. It is constantly telling us what to believe is real.
You can persuade them that what they see with their eyes is what there is to see. You can't. Because they'll laugh in the face of an explanation that portrays the bigger picture.